This presentation is on food storage, kind of emphasizing short and long-term food storage solutions. The only thing I have seen, and they are one of my primary sources on YouTube for learning about this kind of stuff. They're called the Provident Preppers. And they have a website, providentpreppers.com.
It's Provident?
Provident Prepper. Let me look that up quick here. theprovidentprepper.org. So it's a husband and wife team that go through all this stuff, and they're very good, very thorough, and they have a ton of videos now. They're a big family, and they've made this part of their lifestyle. And I think on YouTube they invite comments and stuff, so there may be some sharing of things there. Yeah, these guys are not Adventists, but I'm kind of guessing they might be Mormon, but I'm not sure. Well, the only thing I know, they refer to the Church of Latter-day Saints is very big on promoting food storage long term for emergency preparedness, and their call them a denomination, but they promote it heavily, and so but they are a good resource for getting to know, because they've done it for so long and promoted it, and so the Provident Preppers people refer to them often. So why would we do prepping? You could call it a food storage person, or you could call yourself a prepper. Either way, it's the same thing. But why would we want to do that? We know there's going to be a lot of people coming out of the other churches when the time comes, and they're not going to be prepared. So we have the opportunity to be prepared, and we could really help a lot of people. So we're learning for not just us. We're expecting to help others and the things we store and so forth. So, and we've seen, we witnessed during COVID the supply chain problems that happened in a hurry, and we know shelves can get bare just like that. Trucks can't come, whatever happens there. So it's important to put some food away. So it's also going to be part of economizing, like Andy was talking about. We want to preserve our harvest. If we have leftovers, are we going to let them rot in the fridge accidentally, or can we actually store them better so we can actually use them? Or if you buy something for a certain recipe and then you forget about it, or use some of it and then the rest sits in your backyard cupboard for a couple of years, and then it might not be good anymore. I could have done something about that. I could have saved it. So anyway, there's things to think about. There's different things you want to think of getting to in order to store your food properly. There's different size food grade buckets. This is a food grade bucket. It's a 5-gallon one, and I have a 2-gallon one down here. And food grade is just meaning it doesn't have the bad kind of plastic in it. It has a pretty good. It takes a while for oxygen to get through this. This is gonna last for years and years. These happen to be gamma lids that we got, and so you can get the other kind too that you put on here and pound it on, but then you need a tool to get it back off. Oh, yeah. And it's a bit of a workout. These gamma lids are really great. You get it on, you twist it on, and there you go. And then you want to get in your bucket, you just untwist it and pull it off. Yeah, this would stay. So once you put it on the first time, this bottom part would stay put, and then I could unscrew the lid up and put it back on. So this you pound this into the place first. So when you go to pack it, I got these at Winco. Winco is the cheapest place to get them. You can buy some online as well. You might get a close price, but I think I've never seen anything beat Winco's price. The gamma lids are more expensive than the regular lids, but the ease of in and out is well worth it.
Do they have the lids and the buckets, or
They have the lids and the buckets.
do they have the smaller size?
They have the smaller size too,
Wow, very good.
2 gallon, 5 gallon. So they have a pretty good supply of storage things at Winco. They have the oxygen absorbers as well you can buy. We'll talk about that too. They don't have Mylar bags, so I had to order these online. So there's another thing you want to think about because you want to line your buckets with a Mylar bag.
What is a Mylar?
Mylar bag is these things. These are Mylar bags. They're they're kind of space.
It's from the NASA space program.
NASA space program material. Like say this bag here is a 25-pound bag of hard red wheat berries. Okay, you can put this thing, you put it in here. You dump this whole bag in there. I know that this bag would fit this bucket. Just one of these, perfect size. And then you would put oxygen absorber in there. And this particular package came with oxygen absorbers. I'll talk about these one more later, but these ones are nice because they're individually wrapped. I don't have to open up a big pack and then possibly spoil the other ones. So I take this off, I put it in here, and then this one has a zipper on it, so you can reuse it. You can reuse any of them, but the zipper is kind of handy for if you're gonna open this up, you can just zipper it closed when you're not using it. But for long term, you want this whole thing heat melted, and that's gonna block out the oxygen absorber. Once it's all sealed up inside there, it's gonna take out the oxygen from inside, and just whatever's left is just nitrogen. So that's gonna make this have a shelf life of 30 years. Wheat berries store the longest out of anything, probably. And the wheat in its whole form, any grain in its whole form stores longer, like that. But yeah, this will last a super long time when it's stored properly like that. You would just put it in here and you'd cover it up, and then you would write what it's in there and the date you packed it. Sit in a cool, dry, dark place, and it'll last a really long time. So that's that. And these smaller ones, if you have something heavier, it's nice to use the 2 gallon instead of the 5. That gets pretty heavy. Like this is going to be pretty heavy in a 5 gallon. So you'd maybe consider doing smaller ones if you feel like it's too heavy for you. You could break it down into several small ones instead. For us, I put things like salt and sugar or white sugar in these 2 gallon ones because that's heavy. But you don't want to use the oxygen absorber in salt or sugar because it'll turn it into one solid mass.
Oh my. Did you find out the hard way?
No, I just read about it. Didn't do it. Yeah, it'd be a big salt lick kind of thing. So these are some of the equipment things, the food grade buckets, and for long-term storage, you could do short-term in it too if you want to, but you want to, if you're making these investments for the long term, these are going to sit around for a while. And what I do is have a booklet in the house, and I have my inventory listed on it of what I packed that day, and I'll save up several things. I might have a stack of 10 things to pack and do it all at once. And then in my book, I'll say on this date, I packed 1 5 gallon of this, 1 5 gallon of that. And then I can look back and realize, oh, it's been 10 years since I packed that. I better start to rotate some of that stuff out of there. Just start packing some new stuff and use the old stuff. So it's a nice way to keep track of what you've done so you can rotate things eventually. You can reuse the Mylar. Yeah, so if I open this one up, it's zippered and it's heat sealed. And by the way, this is my heat seal device. This is my, not my old iron, but I got it at Goodwill. And I would just lay this down and just squish out whatever air you can and get this flat on this board. And Andrew and I often do this together. So one person's holding it flat for the other. And then you just kind of get the very edge heat sealed up. And this will just heat seal it all along there to seal it. Every time you use it. Now, the next time when I open this thing, I'll be right at the zipper. So the next time you do it, the zipper might have to go. And then your next heat seal would be down here. So your bag would get shorter and shorter and shorter. So, yes, you can reuse these guys. And yeah, I don't rely on the zipper because there may be somewhere where little oxygen's getting through. It's a pretty good zipper, but yeah, nobody relies on it though. They still need seal on the other side of it. We sometimes use those storage bins from Costco, the black bins with the yellow tops. I don't know what size those are. 20 gallon. So you could pack a bunch of these things and lay them just in that big bin together as well. They're protected in this from is taking out the oxygen and the other bin's protecting it. There's also with these Mylar bags, I think these ones are the ones I'm showing you are 5 millimeter ones. I wouldn't go any less than that. Then they get more easy to poke through by accident. Mylar bags, yeah. 5 millimeters are good all around. And I heard somewhere that if you're gonna actually use it to pour hot water in, like we packed some this size for our car emergency kit and put soup mixes in them with an oxygen absorber. So we had emergency food in the car. And so that you could, and it has a zipper, our car ones have the zipper too. So you could just open it up and pour water right in the Mylar and eat it out of that. So for that, you'd want 5 would probably work. I heard 7 millimeters was recommended if you're going to put water in it, hot water. But so you want to make sure you have these and the oxygen absorbers. I showed you what that one looked like. This is I believe what they call a 2000 cc one, which is what this size of bucket would need. 5 gallons would need about 2000 cc's. And these smaller ones would need 400 or 500 cc's. I'll talk about that as we go. Yeah, these smaller ones.
What about the
2 gallon? So for every gallon, it's 400 or 500. And so for 2, I just double that.
Okay.
So, and it's okay to err on the size of too much, but you don't want to err on the size of too little. So if it's 45, I would just put 1,000 in here. So if you're doing something like a quart glass jar, mason jar, this requires 100 cc's. Or if I didn't have 100 ones, I only had 400 or something like that, I would just use the 400 in here. It's fine. But I can provide this handout. I can email it to anyone that you want who would like it later. It gives a bunch of information. I just didn't have it ready before the camp meeting. But it lists different container size and how much is recommended on each one. This is another thing that you can store food in. This is a used or an old juice jar. So you wouldn't want to use this for super long term, but this could work for short term up to 5 years. These ones are called peat jars. So if you look down the bottom of it, there's a number 1 recycling emblem, and right under that one it says PETE. So this is a peat jar, and this is also a peat jar. So this would be a great one, this water container. Polyethylene terephthalate, PET or PETE. It's actually a form of polyester, like the clothing fabric. It's safe, hygienic packing solution, approved by official health and safety boards. It's a makeup means it doesn't react with any food or liquids that come in contact with the material. So if you're going to use something like this to store, make sure it's a peat bottle. Be a nice one. So these are made to hold liquid in too. So that means the way these are designed, they are going to be the best for not letting oxygen in and so forth. And if you're worried about it, you can put some duct tape around the opening and just make sure. But I could fill this with dry beans and throw an oxygen absorber in there, take that off, and this will be good to go for up to 5 years at least with this kind of material. So you could use these for a short-term solution. And different foods even pack differently. Like, let's say macaroni shells, or those shell ones versus elbows. Those elbows pack real small and tighter, and the other ones leave a lot more room for oxygen. So your needs for oxygen might be different in those 2 types of pasta. So, but just, yeah, good to think about stuff like that. One thing with packing, you want to make sure you don't use an oxygen absorber with foods that are moist. Let's say I put some dried fruit in here. Let's say I put raisins in here. And if I put an oxygen absorber, that's going to be bad news down the road.
Hard candy.
Yeah. Well, well, it might breed botulism because there's still, those things are moist still, some of the dried fruits. If they're not dry enough to snap, make sure you don't use an oxygen absorber. Yeah. So the bacteria that causes botulism thrives in moist, low oxygen environments. So if you're removing the oxygen, you're giving it a nice breeding ground. I found a website, and it's on here. You get these handouts. I used it to look up a few things because it's hard to find everything online. And some things you had to check yourself, because I found someone said, oh, they last this long. And someone else said, oh, no, it only lasts this long. I'm like, which one's right? I don't know. So I really, really researched quinoa, because one side said, oh, just put an oxygen absorber, it'll last for 20 years. And then another one said, oh, 8 to 10 years. And then this company called Wallaby, I looked up to see what they had to say. They're the ones that make these things. Wallaby. I got some of my Mylar bags from them, and they sell oxygen absorbers too and everything. So actually, when you buy these, they come with oxygen absorbers, so you don't necessarily have to buy them separately. But they said no more than 5 years, and because there's too much moisture in quinoa. So you wouldn't think that, but so I looked it up on this website, and sure enough, it has too much. It has over, I don't know, 13 or 16% moisture. And the limit for long-term storage is 10% moisture or less for things going into the more the 15, 20 year, 30 year long-term storage. So quinoa, you could package it the same, but you want to rotate that out within 5 years. I heard that you can. Is that you just got to take it out? Long, you can't let it stay there for too long.
So 5 years, you're saying? You
Yeah.
leave it there for 5 years.
Okay. 5 years. But the jury's still out on me even putting oxygen in that because it said it was over 10. So, and it's probably not going to be fine not to use an oxygen absorber, I think, and that kind of thing. You could just put it on your short-term storage area. We end up using these things a lot for short-term in our pantry because it's easy and they hold a lot. These old pretzel jars from Costco. And so we put it in there for a couple years, and we usually use it fast enough that nothing stays for that long. But yeah, I wouldn't put that in the long-term storage plan. So some things for short-term. Peanut butter, that's because high oil, like if it's mixed into peanut butter. Although if you get powdered peanut butter, I thought this was a good thing to have around. I found the stuff that doesn't have all those other additives, sugar, or whatever in it. So I had to really search online for this one because that's not the kind they sell at Costco. But and these I'd leave in that just what it came in. These are vacuum sealed already. If I open this up, then I'd have to repackage it in one of these with a oxygen absorber. But sometimes things are best just to leave it how they come. And this would be one I'd leave alone. Another thing you could leave alone for a little while are some of these packaged bags. This is a bag of pecans. And you know how some bags are kind of poofy and stuff? They've been kind of had the oxygen taken out already, and what's in there is called a nitrogen flush. And so that's what's making it poofy is the nitrogen. So it keeps things from breaking too easily inside. But it's pretty well packaged for a while. So I'd leave it in there for a while. So I have a list of other things. There's things that are other things that are higher moisture and higher fat content that make it a shorter term thing. Shredded coconut, brown rice is on the short term list because it has a lot more oils in it than the white rice. White rice, you think of that for the long term storage. That'll last a really long time when you store it properly like this. And again, the sugars, brown sugar, white sugar, baking soda powders, no oxygen absorbers on those. They'll all get super hard. Pearled barley is on this list because it was a little bit high on the moisture side. So they call that a short-term storage one. Same with popcorn is short-term. Popcorn actually has 13 to 15% moisture, which is kind of weird, but it is.
That's why.
Yeah. Yeah. And then think about if you have animals, you might need to store some pet food. And that would be on the short-term storage list as well. So basically whatever you use, think of figuring out how to store it. So you can refer to these short and long-term lists and you can figure out how to do it. Buying things in bulk will save you money in the long run. But if you're going to get these hard grains, you need a grain mill. You need something to get it into flour someday. So we have a manual crank one. Thinking about no power situations. So a manual grain mill might be a good consideration. Unless you have solar power, then you can still have some power, but so the same with freezer foods. You want to make sure if you don't have solar, you can't really rely on your freezer being your short-term food storage supply. So the basic things for long-term storage is storing things in their original form, and anything milled ends up being more of the short-term supply. So if you're going to store buckwheat, store the buckwheat groats. And white rice, millet, split peas, lentils, dried corn, any type of bean, those things can store 25 to 30 years if it's packaged this way, with the Mylar bag, oxygen absorber, in a protected environment, but also remembering to store it in a cool, dry, dark place. And that's optimal for storing it. Pasta is another one to think of that stores well and for a long time. And that's regular pasta. There's some pastas you want to make sure they don't have too high of a moisture content. Brown rice pasta might not store as long. And think of spices and stuff. You want to store a spice bucket. Like you can get a bucket and just get spices in the original thing they came in and just throw them all in one bucket. This is my spice bucket. And you might have like 3 different buckets that you maybe rotate out. Like here's my spices for this time period. Here's my next time period. So however you want to organize it. But it's a nice idea to put that away. It's super nice if you want. And they add nutrition to your food, but they make them taste better, more palatable. Potato flakes is an excellent thing to store because you can use it in so many different ways. You can put it in soups and different things. So protect it from light, oxygen. The oxygen absorbers will not allow any insects to grow in there. So that's the importance of the oxygen-free environment. No bugs will grow.
To be aware of new videos like this one, be sure to subscribe to the Preparing for the Time of Trouble channel. For more free videos and downloadable audio podcasts, as well as handouts, go to www.preparingforthetimeoftrouble.com. Topic categories include recordings of live seminar presentations, country living, sustainable gardening, homestead remedies, how to be self-sufficient when the grid goes down, wild edible and medicinal plants, hydrotherapy, and end-time Bible prophecies. To take advantage of these free resources, go to preparingforthetimeoftrouble.com.